This is the Alldocube M5. It is a 10.1 inch 2560 by 1600 resolution IPS tablet that runs Android 8. It has a 10-core Helio X20 CPU with Mali T880 GPU, 4 GB of RAM and 64 GB of storage. Now this model here is a budget offering from Cube. It is now their second MediaTek Helio X20 tablet. So it does have 4G support, LTE, but unfortunately yet again only the Chinese bands there. So it will take 2 micro SIMs, as you can see under the plastic here on the back of it, and an SD card, micro SD card. So you don't actually have to give up one of those SIM slots, which is good. 3.5mm headphone jack and micro USB along the top here, a rear 5 megapixel camera, a front 2 megapixel camera, and along the sides, either side, we do have side firing speakers that put out a decent volume, but they don't actually sound too good. I will give you a sample of those later on in this video here. So the battery capacity, 6,600 milliamp hours, it isn't huge. And you can see the build overall. It does have a dated look with those larger white bezels, and it is an alloy unibody they have on the back. So it is well put together and in hand feels okay. The volume buttons and the power button, well, those are made out of plastic and they do have a little bit of a cheap feel to them. That tiny little dot you can see there, that isn't the microphone. That's in fact a reset switch. And on the front, you'll find a little tiny slot for our microphone. So inside the box, you get the tablet in this protective sleeve, and it will come with a pre-applied screen protector in the factory. And normally they put them on perfectly. And then just under this right here, we have the power supply and our micro USB cable. So that power supply is very small. It's rated to 5 volts 2 amps, so it's not a quick charger. The USB cable is quite short. It's in white, and we do have this quick guide here, which is in Chinese, but also English on the reverse side, which is good. The M5 weighs 548 grams, which isn't too bad for a 10.1 inch tablet. And the thickness is 9.3 millimeters, so it's not the thinnest. Now the display of the Alldocube M5 is somewhat of a letdown. While it does have a nice resolution, 2560 by 1600, it's an IPS panel. The color reproduction is okay. You can tweak it with the mirror vision application, so you can tweak those whites to your own preference there if you like cool whites, warm whites. Out of the box it's okay. The colors are a little bit off as you could expect for a 180 US tablet. So where it disappoints is maximum brightness. It only outputs up to about 190 lux on the max setting, which is simply not enough. More so considering that this screen is not fully laminated like some of the other tablets that I have reviewed. Recently they've been fully laminated. I can give you a couple of examples there. So the TechTablets T10 is one of them. And there's also another model from Chewy, of course, which is the HI9 Air. That is also fully laminated. So this is way more susceptible to reflections. The gap is approximately 2 or 2.5 millimeters, so it's not the greatest. You get about 57 gigabytes free on first boot. You can, of course, expand upon that with the micro SD card slot. One of the best things about the M5 is the ROM. So it's 100% stock. There's no custom launchers, and it doesn't have any Chinese bloatware. And you can also see that we do have this right here, hardware FM radio. All you need to do is just insert a headset, which will act as the antenna for the FM tuner. Now the overall ROM performance is okay. You do see a little bit of stutters sometimes, and even just the animations you'll notice, it's not 100% smooth the whole time. But overall, in general, I feel for the price of this tablet, it is good. And because it is an Android 8 tablet, well, since Android 7, we can also run apps that support it in split screen mode, which is also possible. And all you need to do simply for that is just hold down one of the apps. So for example, right now, I have Chrome open here, and I can just move this over. And then you can also launch another app right there and run both of them. Now, depending on what apps you're running, that will, of course, affect the performance. So it does support Google's Widevine Level 1, and this is the DRM info. So when it comes to things like Netflix streaming, that you will be able to get HD at least with this. And I also have streamed Amazon Prime Video, and it works perfectly fine on here. So being Android 8, it does support Treble, but it doesn't have the full seamless update support, as you can see here, unsupported. So that's not great to see. Now, testing out the wireless AC performance, the range is good, it's okay, it's not the greatest I have seen. And maximum performance that I could get out of my wireless AC router is about 212 to 250 megabits per second. That was the download speeds here. I also did test out another download test, you can see. So upload slightly faster here, 247. But for the price again of this tablet, I feel that that is okay. And you're not really going to get any better than that out of this particular chipset here. So 4G speeds, they're alright. I would call this an okay kind of speed, considering I'm with Orange here in Spain, and they are very slow. They're rubbish. I can't seem to get really any better than this. Now, the LTE bands are very limited, so there's no LTE band 20 for other European users. The good thing is that here in Spain, at least, I can always use the bands that they ship with these Chinese mobile phones and tablets. And here is the internal storage. So it's eMMC 4.5.1 spec. And you know, these speeds aren't great. They could be a lot faster. They could also be a lot slower. Sad to see they couldn't use eMMC 5.1, which just would be a little bit faster, but this overall will not affect the performance of the device. GPS, so yes, it does have GPS, and I managed to get accuracy of around about 4 to 5 meters, which isn't bad, but it doesn't tend to lock on to too many satellites. It doesn't use them all. And it also does not have a hardware compass. And lastly, the Antutu score. So 103,000 for the Helio X20, this chipset here from MediaTek, paired up with the Mali T880 GPU. This is actually a good score. This is not bad. Now, the average memory use is 2.3 gigabytes here. It has 4 gigabytes in total, which I feel is perfectly fine for an Android 8 tablet to have 4 gigabytes, even 3 gigabytes. Is fine. What I don't recommend is those older tablets that only have 2 gigabytes of RAM. Inside the Alldocube M5, we have a 6,600 mAh battery, and so far in my test here, you can see 4 hours and 7 minutes of on-screen time. I have 32% battery left, and my estimates here are around about 7.5 hours. And I do believe that because I have been gaming, and this has been very heavy use. I've been playing Lineage 2 Revolution for about 2 hours, and I also played some PUBG, Shadow Fight 3 as well. So that's demanding use. So if you're doing something just like web browsing, then expect these figures to be a little bit higher. And I've been on wireless most of the time, a little bit of data. So if you use data a lot more, again, expect less. This is only just an estimate of the battery life. Now, to fully charge it is going to take close to 4 hours, so it is very slow. It's only charging at 5 volts 2 amps. Now the screen, because it does have the 2560 by 1600 resolution, it looks good for eBooks. You can see I've got an example here. I'm using Google Play's books, and it's good. It's great for this. Now if you load up heavy PDF files, so lots of images, expect a little bit of slowdown. It will take a little while to catch up. That's just how it is with this chipset. So it's not going to give you amazing iPad-like performance. No, but for this kind of stuff, these light eBooks, it's fine for this. As I pointed out in the beginning of the video here, so we've got 2 side firing speakers, and yes, you guessed it, they don't sound great. The volume is okay, but they really do lack quality. I'll give you a sample of them now at 100% volume. So looking at PUBG performance, it's not the smoothest, but it does seem to be a little bit better than some of the other Helio X20 tablets that I have tested. So you can see that just moving around there now, there's a little bit of stutter. Now this is on the lower settings, which the game auto detects. I would not increase that, and you can't actually increase that without using something like GFX Tools. So when you zoom in here with the scope, you can see that that's fine. I mean, I managed to get here 16 kills, but it's only a low-level game against pretty much bots and very few human players, just the ones on my side there. And of course, having the bigger screen just does make this a lot more comfortable than, say, playing on your mobile phone. The other thing is that your mobile phone, if it's got an Adreno GPU in it, a Snapdragon chipset, that it probably actually will be a little bit smoother and faster than the Mali T880 here, which can be a little bit laggy at times. Now other titles like Lineage 2 Revolution, this one here is on the recommended settings, so it's just medium settings, and you will notice that there is some definite stutter and lag at times, but again, it is overall playable. Sample now from that front-facing camera. It's 2 megapixels, and the audio quality I feel is okay. The quality of the camera itself is going to be fine for things like Skype, but it does look a little bit blurry, so it's lacking a little bit of detail. But overall, I feel, again, for the price of this tablet, you know, this is fine, this is acceptable. The rear camera will not take a great photo, it will not take good video. It's similar kind of quality like this. So your cell phone that you have will take a better photo and video, definitely, than this budget tablet. Alright, so to quickly recap here, we're getting a reasonable build quality. It's an alloy unibody it has. Okay, the buttons on the side are plastic. We do have side-firing speakers, but there's no creaks in the case, the design, there's no flex in it, and that overall is good considering the price of it. Now, battery life, you get about 7, perhaps even 8 hours. If you're gaming just non-stop, then expect about 5 hours of battery performance out of the 6,600 mAh battery. Performance in general is good. It's not great. You will see some stutters and lag here and there. Gaming, it will play all the latest demanding new titles, but it will be best to leave things on the lowest setting. Now and then I did encounter a few stutters, a little bit of lag in performance, but overall you can still win games, you can still shoot people, aim and things like that in PUBG, so the performance is good, but it's just not amazing there. It's not going to be the fastest out there, definitely not. So we do have some good extras on this tablet. What I mean by extras is we've got GPS that you don't normally see, we've got FM radio, which is also nice to have on here, and we've got wireless AC. That's typical now, wireless AC, but also dual SIM support. But there's a bit of a con with that dual SIM support because the LTE bands, well, they're not the frequent common ones that you would normally get in this part of the world. So they're really Chinese bands. Luckily, they do work for me here in Spain, but do check with your provider because you may be stuck on 3G, which is going to be a little bit slower. So wireless performance is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The 4G performance as well is good. And the charge time, yes, it's slow. It's close to 4 hours to fully charge this once you completely drain it. It's not supporting MediaTek's Pump Express or anything like that, even though the chipset does have that or could use that. So overall, it comes down to just a couple of things that I'm not too fond of, is the screen brightness, that it's really far too dim. It maxes out about 190 lux, and considering that this screen is also non-laminated, you get more reflections and it's more susceptible to that, and it just doesn't look as good or as bright again. And it's got a screen protector on it that it comes pre-applied with because the glass that's on here is not scratch resistant. So is it a tablet that I can recommend? If you're on a limited budget and you're not after, or you don't need the absolute best performance, for that you're probably better off to get a 2018 iPad, which a lot of people have been asking me, what is the fastest tablet for the cheapest price? That is it. But if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend more than about 180 US, then I believe that this is an okay option. But just bear in mind the LTE bands, the speaker quality is not going to be amazing, but you gain things like GPS, 4G if you get the band support, and overall I feel decent battery life there. So this is an okay tablet here from Cube, definitely better than the Alldocube X1 that ran into some thermal throttling and got very laggy. At least this tablet here, I didn't experience any of that lag in the 3 hours or so that I was actually playing games on this. Thanks a lot for watching this review. My latest videos are right up here, and also have another tablet review right up here, so please check that out if you're interested. And I do hope to see you back in the channel soon. Bye for now.